This particular short episode, I thought I'd share some more of my favourite royal memories of the year. Some sad, some fun, of course, and some incredibly memorable. It's been a terrific royal year as ever. And of course, you know, it's one that's kept us all very busy on our toes. And of course, me non-stop in your lives, hopefully. But on a more serious note, there are things that when you look back, and I'm sure we all do at this time of year, you can't quite believe that happened. And of course, some of the sadder things that really did happen during the royal year do stay with you. For me, I'd like to share this particular memory because I think we were all truly affected by the death of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh. As I said previously, I'd met him, you know, very briefly myself. Lovely man, very down to earth, a little bit spiky, you know. I like people like that. Call a spade, as we say in the north of England. You know what I mean. But the thing with Prince Philip was you knew where you stood. It was as simple as that. He was a nice guy who really, you know, as I say, spoke his piece. What I also find fascinating is, you know, when you look back at somebody's life like that, you realise what really they've done, some good things. And that's the whole point, isn't it, really, of why we're here. We should all try and do something good before we leave. Oh, listen at me getting all maudlin at this time of year. But of course, sharing those memories, there's two things that really stick out in my mind about Prince Philip and, of course, the sad loss that we all endured. Obviously, I was very busy at that time covering it for TV channels around the world. And on that particular day, I was working for a US channel, Fox News, and watching it unfold live in Windsor was particularly moving. You know, when you were there, it was a strange feeling as well because it was almost like a glorious summer's day, not, you know, early spring as it was in April. And I think the most moving element for me about that particular whole day was really how sad and lonely I think the world felt for our glorious Majesty the Queen. Obviously she had to sit alone because there was the, you know, X amount of rule of people around her. So of course she arrived for the funeral alongside her lady in waiting. But then that famous picture of her sat alone, all alone after all of those years in that church pew really did pull at people's heartstrings. I thought it was very, very difficult to watch. And even looking at the picture now, you know, you have to feel emotion and lots of, you know, sadness for her because this was truly the first time that she'd faced the world alone after so long. A lot of people forget that she actually met Prince Philip when she was 13 years old. The other memory really of that particular period was this. I felt so sorry for Prince Charles. You could see the grief etched on his face as he was walking alongside into the church and all that sort of stuff. It was just very, very moving. But I thought he spoke so beautifully about his father when he came out of his house at Highgrove to speak to some of the waiting media. When he referred to his darling papa, you know, he was so special and meant so much. You know, he kept it together. It was difficult, but how nice that he was able to share those memories. And they all were, you know, Prince Andrew, Prince Edward, Princess Anne. Princess Anne is ever very stoic, as Prince Philip would have wanted her, you know. But it was one of those moments, I think, in the royal calendar that truly you will never forget. And it's often, as I say here on this show, when you're reporting these things, we are literally in moments of history. They will look back on those films, those pictures in 100 years' time, and people will wonder what it's like. Let's not forget, we're all right now living through history. As ever, let me know your thoughts on that particular day. I know it might seem a little bit macabre and a little bit sad at this time of year, but also it should be celebrated. He truly was a wonderful man. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.